She'll have to
Hello
come
guys,
back
and
here.
I'm Elieson.
Good luck, have fun, right?
MikeMike34.
HollieTheFool.
And I'm Traviktox.
Today we're going to bring you a 4-player run-through of a pretty chaotic game. This is a roguelike in the classic sense. It's a Super Nintendo game called Lufia 2 Rise of the Sinistrals, and then we're
Not
featuring...
started yet.
Oh no, I was just...
Not starting yet?
No, that was a go call for just when the stream was starting to introduce us.
Oops, sorry, my bad.
But
Give me
anyway,
a
as a quick introduction, well, we're getting all back reset. This is a 100 floor randomized cave in which we are taking a group of 4 people in through a game's bonus mode, which you unlock after beating the game twice. Our mission is to kill a gigantic gelatinous juggernaut in 2 hours, and hopefully the 4 of us can at least achieve one of it. This is a pretty hostile game. This is not a very friendly game. PBs and world records tend to hover around the 45-minute to hour mark, but there are people who can't do it even after 2 hours just because the game is a scary game. So we'll explain features and mechanics as we go through the cave. The one thing that I do understand is that we have a donation incentive that was met. This is so that way we can all use a slightly different party. There are 3 party members that you can see are in my save file up here in the upper left corner. The 2 guys with the bluish purplish hair and the guy with the red hair. There are 4 other party members that you can pick outside of those 3, which are the optimal people, and we're going to split them up. Who has who, and then we'll explain everything as we're going through the run. Mike?
Go ahead. Are you ready to go?
Mike has...
What? So, I was born ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready, Ellie?
Yep, I'm all set.
What's Red Drugs?
What? Yep, we're ready.
Okay.
Alright, Rogue-a-rama team, do you want to give us the countdown? Oh, nope, I think we're on our own for this.
Okay.
We are ready. We are ready. Sorry, I had to stream delay.
Okay.
Ready for countdown whenever.
Alright, let's get the countdown going. Guys, 5 seconds, alright? And to confirm, everyone's got their party members selected. Mike has Salon.
I do.
I have Tia.
OPS Lexus.
And I have Guy.
Alright. 5-second countdown, guys. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Okay, fun, guys.
So as a little bit of an introduction to the cave, what we're doing is we're picking our party members from the start. There are 2 people named Decker and Artie who are pretty much standard for almost every run that you see in this game. The reason for that is because getting to the final floor in this requires a lot of luck in finding good equipment. It requires a lot of bulk in being able to survive battle, and it requires a lot of speed, being able to run away from battle. We're giving ourselves 2 hours to make it through the cave, and in this case we have to find as much as we can for not only survival, but also the kill on the jelly. The jelly at the final floor has 9,980 hit points, which is, in the context of this game, considering you don't know much about anything else, well, a struggle.
Very much. It's many HP.
And the reason that that's a lot, that it's so difficult to work with, is because you only have 3 turns to kill the jelly, where in normal battles you have as much time as you need. It's difficult to do that much damage, so we're looking for specific types of weapons that are good for the jelly kill on top of survival equipment. Hoppy, what are some things that we're looking for that are going to help us get through?
Twist jewel.
Looking for survival or looking for killing the jelly?
We'll talk about jelly stuff.
The jelly, basically everybody has taken Deca because of the legendary Deca Blade, which is basically has a IP called Fatal Blow, which basically deals 50% of the HP of the target on damage. Which means this Juggernaut Jelly with 10k HP will almost guarantee get 5-2k damage and be halfway through the kill. I can start spawning at floor 15, so we are hoping for the favorite floor 15 Deca Blade.
Also, Hoppy mentioned IP. IP is a... can you describe IP there?
IP is basically something like special points you are getting awarded for taking damage in comparison to your remaining life, like a limit break in the Final Fantasy games. And if you have enough IP points, you can use an IP attack based on the equipment you carry. This is why we pick up certain items just in case they have a really strong or versatile IP attack. We can use throughout the run.
The IP meter is if you're in the battle screen and you're looking at the viewers, you'll see a blue bar for HP, a green bar for MP, which Decker doesn't have any of, and neither does Guy, and a yellow bar at the bottom, which fills up slowly as you get damaged. The Fatal Blow move from the Decker Blade requires a full 100% IP, which means you have to get beat up a lot. Other things don't require quite as much. There are some weapons that we'll be getting later which require less IP, some 30%, some 60%. As we continue to find other chests, we'll find value in different weapons and different things that give us IP, so that way we can do the attacks we need to do. If you look up on Hoppy's screen, you'll see he's in a room with a lot of chests. One mechanic of this cave is that certain floors spawn, well, everything is spawned pretty randomly from the floor layout to the contents of the floor. The thing that we do know consistently are kind of the loadout of items that can spawn in chests and the enemies that spawn, but among the things that are kind of random are just the layouts of the chests themselves as a whole. What Hoppy found is what we call a party room. It's a room that just has a whole bunch of chests and a whole bunch of monsters concentrated into one area. They can be great for some things because you don't have to go looking too far for the chests, but they can be bad for others because you sometimes have to get forced into a lot of fights.
Yeah, a fight basically triggers when your sprite is standing right being next to an enemy sprite. And depending on the direction you're facing, you are getting a basically initiative attack to suppress the enemy. And if you're facing backwards, you definitely get always a surprise attack by the enemy.
If you get an enemy from the side, or if an enemy gets you from the side, it's a straight 50-50 shot. It's a coin toss on whether you'll get a surprise attack or they'll get a surprise attack on you. There are some enemies, if they get a surprise attack on you, you just lose. So we do have to be careful, especially in later floors, because we just lack the bulk to deal with some of the greater threats in the cave.
Ranks never kill anyone. Bad movement does.
So one other thing we're prioritizing here is finding specific equipment. There are things, your classic weapon types like swords, axes, whatever, shields, helmets, but there's also accessories. And one thing that the cave is notorious for is sort of a glitch, in that the early floors 1 through 9, are the only floors that spawn accessories, some of which being better than others. There are also, among the red chests that you find your goods through, blue chests. Blue chests can spawn a whole variety of goodies that are extremely powerful. Sometimes they'll be more useful than others, because only certain people can equip certain things, like ladies can't equip the heavy swords and such. What MikeMike found early on in his run was a twist jewel, which is one of the most infamous items for the cave, as it's an accessory that gives you more agility, and agility lets you go fast, and that's what we're trying to do. Going fast involves sometimes just running from battles, and the faster you are, the better your chances of escaping before the enemy gets a turn. So eventually we're going to be reaching the floors 11, 12, and 13. Among the pile of floors that there are a group of enemies that give a little bit more experience than others. Those are called cores. They're much like the metal slimes that you may be familiar with from games like Dragon Quest. They have a high chance to run away from the fight, but if they do stick around, they are pretty easy to deal with via a sort of an exploit in their defense parameters. If you cast a magic spell on them, they die pretty much instantly. They give a ton of experience, and they're what can help offset a run that just may not start off very strong. If we're able to find cores, we're going to do our best to try to get one, simply because of how valuable they are. So they're going to be little gray cubes. They're just bopping around the map.
Yay! Erbe!
One other thing that this game has, which is a bit unique to it, is in the equipment, the cursed equipment. Certain equipment you can equip, it will have an 80% chance to just outright kill an opponent upon contact. Other weapons are just really, really good, or just good for their timing that you fire them. Those are considered cursed weapons. You do need to find a chest that includes an item called a curse lifter in order to uncurse a cursed weapon. The cursed weapons that are of value include the Deadly Rod, which both of the girls can use, Tia and Salon, as well as Arcti, who's in all of our parties. There is also a Deadly Sword for Maxim, and due to a translation error, there are 2 types of Deadly Swords, one of which is the good one that Maxim can use that has an 80% chance to kill, or in our case, us, as we are Maxim, the red hair guy. The others, like a Berserk Blade, are completely useless. They're powerful weapons, but they don't have anything special. When you uncurse the deadly weapons, like the Rod and the Sword, they have a percentage damage ability, much like the Fatal Blow that was described earlier, so there is a lot of value in using them for the jelly kill. The Berserk Blade is just powerful, but it does not have anything that can be used for a jelly kill. Something else in here is just general survival through the cave. There exists the 10 potions that the game gives you just upon entering, and that's pretty much your lifeline until you get through far enough to find recoverable items. There's things like potions, high potions, the general RPG stuff, but there's also things called regains and miracles, which bring you back to life after you die. Miracles restore your HP and MP to full, and that's really important because there is not a way to restore your MP out of using either a miracle, a very specific set of MP healing items called High Magic or X Magic, or a couple of other little things that recover a minuscule amount, or through the spell called Absorb, which we may not even find. MP is a very valuable resource, and spells that heal HP are a great way to handle that maximization.
Also, you can technically there are some IP attacks that restore magic points, like the Silver Armor's Wonder Healing and I think Magic Scale. I'm not sure. But I really would fancy some cores here.
I just got 2 cores, and they almost punched Tia to death, which is pretty scary.
I should have taken Tia or Ceylon. I got the air whip and the air ring.
Oof.
I did not get cores.
Yeah, MikeMike's got a bit of a setback now without cores because the XP that you get from cores, with it being just such a huge amount, can really be the offset that you need to feel like you're safely able to tackle a lot of the enemies that are coming in. One thing about the cores is that they come in stages. So where we found our red cores right now, they're good for early on. In the 30s, there are blue cores, which give as much experience as 5 red cores. There are, in the early 40s, green cores, which give as much experience as 3 blue cores.
Blue cores.
And in the 58 to 60 range, there are enemies called no cores, which give as much experience as 5 blue cores. Those are the kings of EXP. If you're lucky to get them, then congratulations, you're going to be quite high level, and you probably won't need to worry about experience for the rest of the run.
I found
Great, I
Valor.
got I have no core, no, not a single core, but Thunder and Firebird. Is this good or bad?
So there's a variety of spells that are useful in here. You'll see sometimes people are casting, like I'm casting Fireball. Hoppy found Firebird. Each spell that can deal with numbers that is damage to some degree is either a tier 1, 2, or 3. There's Holy Magic, which only RT can use, and that is tier 2 and 3. And there's Instant Death Magic, which either the girls or our main character can use, and those are okay. I just found Destroy, which is a 50% chance to kill enemies, and it can multi-target at a reduced chance of kill accuracy.
Matter of fact, 50% is bigger than 80%.
Yes, when dealing with the usage of deadly weapons, or a fatal pick, if you happen to spot somebody picking up one of those. Sometimes it is just as reliant to deal with the cast.
You guys, can I hop in real quick with the donation?
Of course.
I'm happy to announce that we got
I think it cut you out there.
whoops, it cut me out, sorry. $20 donation from Friendly Passerby saying shout-outs to Elieson for his Lufia and dad skills, rep Houston well, which is a great, thank you for the $20. And I should announce that puts us right at or just slightly over by 9 cents the $1,000 mark.
Oh my
really
gosh.
amazing.
Wasn't that your goal?
Oh.
1,000?
That was actually, and believe it or not, that was our stretch goal for the year. Our original goal for the year was $500, and our stretch goal was $1,000. So, thank you to everyone who donated and helped us reach this goal. Let's keep raising more money for able gamers. Thank you.
Ooh, there's the deadly one. Whoop, 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 whoop.
So, while that was going on, some interesting things happened. It looks like Traviktox found Ice Valk, which is the best ice magic in the game. I managed to find Zap and Thunder, which are the two most powerful spells. Hoppy found Firebird, and also
Thunder.
a Deadly Rod. The Deadly Rod is going to go wonderfully on Artie, because Artie is the fastest party member that you can bring, and you want the fastest person to have the ability to score those one-hit KOs that can make or break a run, especially in the later third of the cave. He will have to try to find a Curse Lifter to make full value of it, but the fact that he has a Deadly Rod at all is extremely important, because it can, again, make him simply able to survive.
It calms down my tortured soul. Because running without force and no healing spell is always kinda like, yeah. I'm always paranoid. Oh, a lab coat I can use.
Oh boy, I found an Iris pot. Who wants to explain Iris treasures?
In the cave there are 9 9 legendary treasures called the Iris items. They are collectibles, and they serve no other purpose than being collected. And making cave runners run a stupid category called Iris percent.
The frustrating thing about Iris treasure is that even though some Iris treasures vary in name, like you can find an Iris sword, Iris helmet, you cannot equip them, you cannot drop them. All they do is suck up an inventory slot and make it so that way you waste 4 seconds in the time that is spent having to deal with the opening animation of a chest. If you manage to defeat the jelly at the very end of the cave and escape normally, or at least use the item called Providence to escape, which you can find around 420 and onward, that lets you escape the cave and take anything Iris or blue chest with you. You can deposit them in the bar that you picked up your party members at the very beginning, and the true completionist will try to acquire all 9 plus the one that you acquire from defeating the jelly. What do you get for acquiring all 10? You get a message that says congratulations.
Yeah,
And that's about it.
That's about it.
You don't get any items, you don't get any special plot, you don't get any rare equipment, just good job.
You just get a message. Hey, you collected all Iris treasures. Congratulations. And that's it.
Did Traviktox just find a deadly rod, I see?
Yep.
So you'll notice Traviktox and Hoppy are in a different part of the cave compared to where MikeMike and I are. I'm close. I didn't see what floor MikeMike was on. The cave is split up into 4 distinct portions. Well, 5 if you want to be technical. The opening room, which has the entrance as well as some rare treasures that you can get if you acquire the ancient key from defeating the jelly in combat through one means or another. The jelly floor itself, which is a glitched mess, and hopefully we'll be able to show off the disastrous translation errors that resulted in the floor almost becoming broken. The floors 1 through 20, which MikeMike and I are in, which are effectively the, as I like to call the tower portion of the cave, and where Traviktox and Mike are, they're in what I'd like to call the dungeon. This emulates one of the 3, or these emulate the 3 types of dungeons that you'll see around the cave, or around the game as you travel around through the campaign. At 440, you reach what I would consider to be the cave portion. From 440 onward, it is effectively the same floor design. It doesn't change every 20 floors like it does for 1 to 20 and 21 to 40. The music changes too a little bit, and that's just a quick way to determine how far into the cave you are. Items spawn of greater value depending on how far you are into the cave. Hoppy already described that if you're at a certain point, floor 15, you can find the elusive Decker Blade, which is probably the most coveted item in the cave that you can find, at least through Red Chest. If you're going through normally, you'll also notice that as you progress through, you'll reach up to floor 60, and every floor or 2 beyond floor 1 pretty much adds something different to the pool. We're going to be looking out for some items, probably up until the 30 range in particular, just for general survival. And then we're going to be looking at key items after floor 60, which is where everything can spawn in a chest during the particular run. Now, you can catch items like potions, high magics, curse lifters, antidotes. You can find them on any. Additionally, the entire list of spells is randomized throughout the entirety of the cave, so you can find any magic spell at any point. That's why sometimes you can find the most powerful spell.
Also not getting any healing spell.
I just found Valor. Are you jealous yet?
I hate you. I would be... wait a bit. I don't want to say I want any healing spell. I want any healing spell that restores HP.
Yep, there is a healing spell called Awake, which cures sleep, which I think only 2 enemies in the cave even cast. The only status ailment that exists or carries through outside of battle is poison, and you can use the poison spell to cure poison, which is kind of strange.
This is just an English translation error. The German version has at least a correct name for the spell. We have other issues in our translation.
Yeah, there are quite a few other translations. Some enemies that you'll see, we actually ran into one really early on, but didn't really deal with them too much. And other enemies as we continue, you'll notice are just silly in name. The translators took some of the pronunciation a bit more literally, and translated some enemy names like Hydras as Hydoras. They translated the names of Golems as Gorems. Some other enemies early on in the cave are called Centipedes. They're translated as Centopes. And there's just a variety of other silly translations that make the game.
I'm a fan of assassins.
Yes, assassin, not assassin, assassin. Now, when dealing with enemies, some enemies can move faster than others. You'll notice on each of our screens as we're dealing with enemy types. Some enemies are a little bit more consistent in their movement than others. Some enemies move left when you move right. Some enemies move around randomly. Some enemies move in multiple tiles, but in an erratic order. Traviktox just found a Decker Blade, so he is doing pretty well.
That's already my second.
Your second one?
Okay, now I'm jealous.
And Hoppy had a game over, but that's okay. okay because it's not too bad. You can still complete a run in an hour 40 pretty, I wouldn't say pretty easily, but pretty reliably.
Yeah. It's my fault. Yeah, this one is on me.
What killed you, Hoppy?
Beast.
Beasts are one of the more threatening enemies. They're probably the first big threat that the cave presents to you, because they move around very erratically.
Yeah, they have this. First, they totally they double move. Second of all, the most devastating thing about them is that they have occasionally a 3-step or a double step, which always is kind of awkward because you don't know exactly when they are going to move. So just like that.
The cave is a cruel mistress and kills many of us often.
Yeah.
Just as easily as the cave can give you success, the cave can very easily spawn you into a room that's completely full of things that will slaughter you if you let your guard down. Traviktox having a Decker Blade and having a Deadly Rod, he has almost half of the equation necessary to kill. I'm sorry, he has probably more than half in terms of damage on the jelly just between those two weapons. But there is, of course, the chance that something scary will spawn and just kill him or force him into a very precarious position. I described earlier how you can use up Providence to exit the cave early. What that does is it allows you to, well, keep everything that you have that came from a blue chest or came with the name Iris in its name. That can be useful if you have a really good blue chest item, like a certain weapon that we've covered called the Gades Blade, or some just very powerful defensive equipment. It may be worth leaving the cave and taking it back in with you. The Decker Blade, unfortunately, does not leave the cave with you. So if you do find yourself in a pinch and that's all you have, while it's a valuable item, you can't necessarily keep it in.
We have to mention at this point, this is actually a mini game inside of Lufia 2, because the cave exists in the main game. We're playing a mode called Gift Mode, which is unlocked after playing 2 times through the game. And Lufia 2 is basically not a roguelike, but standard turn-based JRPG with lots of interesting Reddits, and this is the mini game which is more famous than the main game.
I'd say there's more runners of the ancient cave than there are of the traditional campaign, which is entertaining.
Well, only if you consider that you basically can manage the entire RNG in the game, and you just have to learn one specific route and.
Ooh, I got a blue mimic in front of the door.
Ooh.
Blue mimics are the next most terrifying enemy and are probably one of the more common run enders in the cave. They can use an attack called Frenzy, which attacks your entire party. It's a defense-piercing attack that attacks your entire party, and they're just incredibly over-leveled for the part of the cave that you find them in. Getting past blue mimics really isn't an achievement. They are kind of the 1/3 marker of the cave, and if you are lucky, you won't find them at all, but if you do have to deal with them, you just have to hope that you can't get...
I got an eagle drop.
And one thing you'll notice about blue mimics and other types of enemies is that some of them, when they walk around, not only do they walk around with their little map sprite that looks a certain way, but sometimes it doesn't necessarily look like they're turning. Not all enemies are made the same. Some of them, like jellies, don't have a map sprite to have a left face or a right face or a back face. That means you cannot get a back attack on them. They cannot back attack you, which is nice. But either way, those types of enemies tend to be the more dangerous ones. It doesn't pierce defense, that's right. Defense is just really bad. Thank you, Creeksfire.
What floor are people on?
I am on 31. Stairs are in sight.
I am also 31.
I'm dealing with 4 blue mimics that are on the way. I don't think I'm gonna game over here, but I'm taking the beating. Okay. I saw someone dealing with blue cores.
Yeah, I could.
One thing we haven't explained yet.
Sorry, what floor is Trav on?
I'm on floor 36.
Hoppy's restarted, of course. One thing that we should explain about what Hoppy and what everyone has done, we all have a sort of 5th party member that seems to be doing things outside of our control. This is our capsule monster. Throughout the main campaign of the game, you can find up to 7 through your journey. They'll join you in combat, but they're just AI controlled. As you progress through the game, you can feed them, and the same goes for the cave. And as you feed them, they can evolve, and as they evolve, then they become more useful or effective in combat. The different capsule monsters you can get represent the various elements of the game. Some are, or there's one for each core element of the game, you could say. And I myself am taking Darby, who is the dark element. Certain ones deal more damage, certain ones are faster, certain ones are more useless than others. The more infamous ones are Zeppi the fish, that has a very powerful attack boosting skill. Darby, who just is reliable at dealing high damage and has instant kill magic. And Sully, who in terms of a speedrun is the slowest one, which means that he sees the least amount of time in combat doing things. The others are just bad.
I found the gay displayed. I found the gay displayed. Boop, 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 boop.
Ooh.
That'll go
Katie's
great
Blade
on
is pretty
Lexus.
exciting. Hey, if you find a couple of percentages, that Gatie's Blade will be useful. I want you to describe what the Gatie's Blade does for the audience that's so wonderful.
The Gatie's Blade has a very, very unique special attack. It lets you attack random on enemies 8 times. And since the jelly has literally no defense, you just basically hit for full power 8 times. Which is really, really nuts.
Because you only get 3 turns, you don't get that many turns to do things related to combat against the jelly, so having 8 attacks on top of, say, 1 other attack each turn.
But if I don't find the Decker Blade, this is a very, very potent option for me to basically kill the jelly. You're fucking kidding me. You're freaking kidding me.
The plus about the Gatie's Blade is that more than one person can use it, like the Decker Blade that only one person can use. The minus about the Decker Blade, the minus about the Gatie's Blade is that the 2 people that can use it are Decker and Guy. And in case you were not paying too much attention, the Gatie's Blade is only usable by Guy who's only on 1 person. I'm sorry, 1 person's run. What that effectively means is that someone who has a Gatie's Blade means only Decker can use it. So you want to get that percentage-based damage from other parties or other people in the party.
Yeah.
So what Mike is doing is he's farming cancers. Cancers are not as cancerous as you may think they are, despite their name. They drop an item called a cancer rock. It's an accessory that allows you to attack multiple times. Of course, when dealing with the jelly, you want to hit as much as possible. There is one other accessory that you can get, which has multiple attacks within it. That's called a Hydora rock. That's dropped by 2 different enemies, 2 different types of Hydoras or Hydras. They're pretty coveted. Cancer's a good EXP fallback in a general any percent run because they are not too tough. They're incredibly weak to fire, which is a pretty easy to find magic spell. And usually in your party, you'll have at least Artie or Artie plus one other person who can use fire stick. The high doors appear in the 50s, so if you can get a Cancer Rock early, that gives you a little bit of a cushion to not have to worry about hunting for them, especially because they're just a bit more threatening, and you don't always want to deal with threatening enemies when you're, well, in the cave period.
They give a lot of agility, which is something you really want sometimes.
Yep, Cancer Rocks give a little bit of defense, and in this game, defense is a negligible stat. Second only to magic resistance in terms of its useful or uselessness, you could say. HP is the most important stat, you could say, in terms of its general bulk.
Well, I wouldn't say it's useless per se, but the impact is rather low, but sometimes it can really save your life to have some defense, you know?
Yep. I think Traviktox just found a snow sword. That is a weapon that only Tia can use. Of course, I have Tia. Oh, no. Tia can use the snow sword and Selen can use the blaze sword.
Selen can also use the snow sword.
Oh, she can.
Yeah, because every time when I'm doing a Monday Night Championships with Will, he always takes Selen, and if he finds the snow sword, he's bragging how it was a good idea to take Selen and to equip the snow sword. So I'm knowing that Selen can equip the snow sword.
Selen is the best girl character, arguably, and she can use all the blue items, including the blaze sword.
No, she can't use the Katie's blade. Yes, Selen can use the most variety of equipment, which makes her valuable in a sense. Her stats are not necessarily the best. In fact, she's one of the squishier people. She's more of an average party member like Maxim, or the main character with the red hair. She is good because she has good magic stats, but she's all around average. Tia is a little bit faster, but lacks the bulk of Selen. The speed is useful if she has a deadly rod for those quick kills, but she's not as useful as dealing with dealing damage in general. Guy is the highest damage dealer, but lacks magic, so in terms of contributing towards your survivability within the cave, he's a bit lacking. And Lexus, he cannot use deadly weapons. He's not that powerful, but he does have the highest magic stat, which means if you're in a pinch, he has very easy access to powerful magic spells, which give you great damage on the jelly.
But basically, Deca has higher attack than Guy, but since you're equipping a Deca blade, it doesn't mean something. Means basically, normally under normal circumstances, Guy has the higher attacking power at the jelly. Except you have got to run and find 2 Gales blades. With Trick or Triggering, it's a very complete combination. Oh, sir. I got Rally, I got Zap. I want a better healing spell.
And I found Deca Blade number 3.
3?
I hate you. Number 3.
Quite tired of
Okay.
good fortune.
Do you have something else, by the way? With Blade?
Yeah, I have Sept, Deadly Rod, Healing Spell.
Zap, Trick, and healing spell. Mm-hmm.
Trick is useful because it's the only spell in the game that boosts attack power. You can get a capsule monster that boosts it, but he's not really good with it.
Well, I got an anger brace, so I have in theory better lust.
Oh yes, that's another thing. It's not necessarily a spell, but there are a couple of items that have an IP that boosts attack power. Trick boosts attack power for all party members if you cast it on all party members by 20%. The other skills that can boost attack power, Battle Lust and also Energy Wave cast by Zepi.
What the hell is happening?
They boost attack power by 40%.
I'm dead again. Cave doesn't like me today. What the hell?
So I'm fighting Assassins. They have the game's first one-hit kill attack. Traviktox is fighting ninjas, which are a resprite of the Assassins. The Assassins have an attack called Knife Throw, which is everybody in the party pretty stinking hard. They're also almost guaranteed to be faster than you without speed buffs. So you want to deal with ninjas as hard as you can. They also go multiple times per turn if they use their regular attack. So you'll see in the 40s, specifically 44, 45, and 46 floors, that we'll be a little bit more careful when just kind of running around, because we don't want to walk into a room that just has ninjas that could potentially end us. Especially if they get a side attack on us, they have a high chance of just ending us.
By the way, how much time do I have? Question mark?
38 minutes in, you have an hour 22 left.
Hour 22. With any percent party, it would be close. For the schedule's sake, I would drop out. Basically. The triple double sunstorm was too much for Lexus in my party. But I would focus on commenting then.
Feel free. I'm not sure which game audio is being streamed, so I just want to make sure that that's all set. So a couple of interesting things about the cave and the enemies in it. You'll see that someone just cast, MikeMike just cast Thunder on Bone Golems. Most undead enemies you cannot hurt with cursed weapons, or the dark element, as it's affectionately referred to. That means Darby can't always do a lot of damage to them. Your instant death attacks just don't work, and destroy magics don't work. Bone Golems, for some reason, are considered not to be dark, or I guess an undead element, which is kind of silly considering, you know, they're skeletons. So you can actually deal with them in a strange way by casting Thunder on them, or you can use your Deadly Rod, if you have one, to just kill them with a job. Weird little mechanic of the cave. Another thing is that when dealing with enemies, enemies move around on the map. As they move around, you can, of course, find them, and based on certain things that you can do, you can make them move in specific ways. You can swipe your sword to effectively pass your turns. I think I just made a critical mistake.
I believe the idea is that they're constructs, and therefore lightning hurts them. What I see Ellie doing here is he's fighting cores, because these cores are essential to living through ninjas. You kind of want to have a minimum level of 20 to deal with them.
And my level is pretty good because I have been fighting general enemies here and there, so I haven't fallen too far behind on the XP. Of course, you do want as much EXP going into enemies like ninjas as possible, so you never really are strong enough to have that safe cushion, especially for the late game enemies that just outright shred you. Higher levels means higher agility for Artie, and also, Tia. It means more HP for Decker and your other tanky people. Traviktox just found something interesting. He found a blue chest weapon called the Sky Sword. That's widely regarded as the best overall weapon. You'd say it has the most attack, tied with the Myth Blade, but it also boosts your other stats like your defensive parameters, so it does give you an extra cushion of power in general.
Also, it's fun elemental. A fun fact about this game: basically, there are only 3 weapons in the cave that doesn't have an elemental attached to them. Basically, every other weapon is elemental. Like, is it like water elemental, sea elemental, sea elemental is on the ring, thunder, ice, of course. For example, the code rapier, and there's a really weird element called the heart element, used by basically mazes and stuff like this, and they are pretty effective against golems and stuff like this. And we see Mike finding a dagger blade.
Sweet dagger blade.
Sweet dagger blade and sweet boom sword. Personally, I really like the boom sword because it carries, if you don't have anything better, it carries you through the cave. It's a pretty potent weapon and not to be underestimated. For the cave survival 101 on Happy, the elements you wanna use are basically thunder, holy, and fire, because the most enemies. This is the elemental weakness most enemies have in the cave. Holy for fiends, archfiends, leeches, undead in general. Thunder is good against golems and undead in general, and fire is good against plants and in general. You and you have really many undead enemies towards the cave. By comparison.
One other thing to consider in terms of weapon usage, certain weapons, like the Decker Blade, are better when dealing with the jelly. They don't have a whole lot of value in terms of dealing with regular enemies. When you find the Decker Blade, it's a pretty good weapon statistically, but you do want to find other good weaponry, especially elemental weaponry, that can deal with some of the scarier enemies that the game can throw your way. The Sky Sword is thunder, which makes it very powerful against bone golems. It shares the same element as the Boom Sword, and it also happens to, well, just be a very powerful sword to begin with.
Yeah, the holy elemental weapons are the Silver Sword, the Fry Sword, also a blue chest item, the Crystal Rod, and the Silver Rod. And Silver Rapier, I guess. And they are... Basically, if you don't have an insta-kill weapon and you have to find fiends, your only chance for survival. But we are getting later to the Archfiend floors, and I'm pretty sure at least one of our runners, except especially not me, will show up crazy manipulation threats. Because certain enemy types move different, and some basically chase you down. It's like Traviktox is circling around with this Arcane fiend around the bush. And the key for survival in AC is not to fight.
I found Destroy, which was good, given that I had no deadlies other than the deadly sword.
The Brin's Lizards dropped the Twist Jewel. The Twist Jewel is what Mike found super early on that gives you the big speed boost. If you have a Twist Jewel, it is entirely possible to have Artie and possibly Tia outspeed some of the more frightening enemies that the cave can throw your way. Outspeeding enemies, of course, again, means that you don't have to necessarily fight them. You can run away from battles, you can not fight the scary things. And if you have a deadly rod on Artie when he's using said twist jewel, it is entirely possible he can outspeed Archfiends, which are widely regarded as the most scary enemy in the cave. Sometimes he does need a little more help, but in a run like this, where it's marathon safe, and we're putting some extra time into gaining experience, you do often have a cushion where you can level up and actually have enough EXP to have it really, really close in terms of your agility stat to be able to deal with the Archfiends with a little boost.
And yeah, Traviktox is currently fighting Hydoras, and they are weak against ice attacks. You don't wanna fight them if you don't wanna rely on deadlies alone to fight Hydoras, because if they turn around and if they are in the mood to kill you, they kill you. They are not as bad as Orkies, but nobody fights Orkies, so it's okay.
Yep, there's two kinds of Hydoras that are valuable, that they drop the infamous Hydora Rock. The ones that Traviktox is fighting now are the weaker ones. Not the weakest ones, but the weaker ones that drop the Hydora Rock. Their single standard attack just hits everybody. It can really hurt if two of them gang up on you. There's another version of the Hydora called the High Hydora. The High Hydora is exceptionally scary because it can do multiple attacks per turn.
Yeah, we a friend of mine played last week, 2 weeks ago, a mod called Hydora Attack, where every enemy hit it like a Hydora, the whole party, and we didn't made it past 30. So this is basically a challenge.
And the reason he's hunting for that Hydora is because the Hydora Rock, the accessory that's dropped by Hydoras, allows you to attack one time for triple damage. And that triple damage is exceptionally useful when dealing with the jelly, because it's one single attack that can be very, very powerful. The Cancer Rock that you can find from the cabs, they give you a double attack, but you have to use that one time, or I'm sorry, you have to use that twice in order to get the full value of it. So if you're trying to position your people in specific row placement, you may not always find the most value out of it.
I just found a said Hydora Rock.
Excellent work.
So I'm gonna have to encounter some Surfacos. Scary, but I'm alive.
Give me a second. Yeah, Traviktox already still at the fight for the Hydora Rock, and we see Mike is in a particular situation with all the sirens. They could sirens have a special reputation for being able to totally stun lock you and to shut down every pace you ever had. This is not even funny thing. I had once in a run-in with them where I was 5 minutes looking at their special AoE attack that sleeps everybody, confuses everybody, and wasn't able to run away. This was something. And yeah, there you see how Hydorus moves. You basically take 3 steps and the Hydora moves into a random direction. And here Traviktox has a little run-in with Traviktox, and they just attack him 6 times, because they attack always 3 times 3. 2 times 3. 3 times. You don't hear what you hear what I'm saying, meaning of what I'm saying. Fly Foxes have a double physical attack and thunder. Watch out, Traviktox, this could be dangerous. But Decker lifts, so everything is fine. And yes, it was Jewel for Elieson. And nobody can catch the fastest male elf on Earth anymore, because he has now 158 agility, if I've seen this correctly.
I think 166 is the value that's the most important for dealing with Archies.
Which guarantees you to go before Archfiends.
Yep. This is not very exciting.
What's our time check?
So Elieson is kind of stuck between Wyverns, Gargoyles, and Hateskull. Wyverns are not really that scary, but they cost a lot of time. And here, what's the surprise? Not much going on at this very moment. Do we have some couple of donations? And this is a... Oh, you have a silver sword? Nice.
I found the silver sword. Silver sword is one of the best 3x or triple attack weapons that you'll be able to take into the jelly. There is one more that's just overall better. It's called the Lizard Blow, and everybody can use it. It's the most powerful weapon that has a built-in triple power attack. Silver sword is a good alternative though for Maxim.
Since it's Holy Elemental and... Yeah, since it's Holy Elemental, and basically in the normal Lufia 2 speedrun, this is the best in slot weapon for Maxim. You just go for the silver sword over the dual blade just because of this IP attack. And since the fight is managed in such a way,
Just letting you know about the temporary assassination, I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you. And Mike is fighting no cause, and he's getting those 110,000 experience boosts. Huzzah!
Mike's looking pretty good right now. With all
At this point, he doesn't need to worry about levels anymore. He just got so many level ups. Ooh.
You two are lucky that you have Decker blades. That alleviates a lot of the stress for having to deal with the kill. I'm still hunting pretty fiercely for chests early on, when normally I wouldn't be. Just because I really wanted to get that early Decker blade. What do you guys have for heals? Just out of curiosity.
I have Valor.
I have Velo, Stronger.
So basically, you have strong. it's kind of a meme, but Stronger is actually the worst healing spell in the entire game in terms of efficiency, because there are two parts that determine the healing factor of a spell. First, the base healing, and second of all, the intelligence scaling, which is not really high at Stronger, and since it costs more, and the base is not that much so much higher. Stronger is in terms of efficiency weaker than Storm. If this makes any sense. Probably I shouldn't comment on 5 AM in the morning. Who made the schedule? It was not very German friendly. Sogar. Und Mike with the legendary gold eye, a drop from Gold Dragons, an enemy we probably never see in this cave today. If anyone takes on a gold dragon, free will.
There's the final enemies that you see in the cave include 2 different batches. There's what we refer to as metallic dragons. That includes copper, silver, and gold dragons.
And they never kill anyone.
They never kill anybody, of course. And the other types are dark summoners. Dark summoners are incredibly fast. If you happen to get an unfortunate battle with them, they usually come in battles or groups of 3, sometimes 4. They get multiple turns. They can cast powerful magic. It always targets everybody in your party. They're quite scary. Ooh, lizard blow. If you get to a dragon, the most you'll ever fight in terms of a group of dragons is 2. So that's a little bit of a survivability cushion because you don't have to worry about dealing with too many of them.
And the fun fact is, the copper dragons are not dragons, according to the lizard blow. Or they're not weak against the dragon element, which is kind of hilarious. And sad if you're playing, if you're doing 100% one, because if you have a lizard blow, you basically wanna have, and no deadlies, you basically wanna have every damage you have, and this is kinda stupid that you can't kill copper dragons with a lizard blow. So
the lizard blow is the only weapon that you can find in the cave and actually gives you a damage boost against dragon type enemies. The interesting quirk about it is it's only the IP that deals additional damage to the dragons. The regular attacks don't.
Oh, they don't.
Oh my gosh, a Gades Blade.
I hate you. I hate you.
The trap on the Gades Blade?
I just spent the Gades Blade. If I had Guy, I'd be a very happy runner right now.
If you were a guy, you had to kill. If you had Guy, you had to kill.
I don't have a Decker Blade yet, unfortunately.
Well, we have a lizard blow, a silver sword. You have to, if you have trick, you basically are good to go for the jolly. And you have Sept, right?
I have Zap, yep.
You have Sept. You have 3 times attacks. Sounds good to me.
You see Traviktox beating Darby. Darby doesn't start off all that useful, but one perk that he brings to the table is that he has, in his 3rd form, the ability to cast instant death magic. Well, not magic, but just attacks in general. Those instant deaths can be a big time saver if you don't have to worry about taking the time to equip the deadly class weapons to deal with it.
Even if the Perish Punch from Sully 2 is way more reliable than Davi's AoE attack. You took everybody of you took has gotten Davi. Perhaps I should have done the same thing.
Yeah, I'll be doing that in just a moment here.
And Traviktox is fighting gold dragons. Gold golems. These guys can be pretty dangerous if they attack you from the side or front part, because each of them has really high stats. They have double physical attack and they have an AoE, devastating AoE attack, and they are pretty hard to kill. So Traviktox is using the smoke ball to escape the battle and try to get another surprise attack on them.
I just found a Hydora Rock, which isn't terribly necessary. What this will let me do, though, is give a powerful weapon like the Zerko Whip I just found to Tia, if I don't find a fractional damaging weapon for her, and then she can contribute a little bit more. I have the Gades Blade, which, unless I find a Decker Blade, is going to be locked to Decker. But the Lizard Blow, too, may end up going to someone else. I do need to find some type of percentage-based weapons. The Gades Blade will probably deal without buffs, which I don't currently have, about 3,000 damage or so to the jelly, but that still leaves 6,000 that I want to switch to. I'm actually considering switching to Sept just for this.
It would be pretty valid, hoping for the energy wave. You have don't you have a Silver Sword and a Lizard Blow? You could give Tia the Lizard Blow and Maxim the Silver Sword, and then you would have 2 free times.
I got the Hydora Rock, the Lizard Blow, the Silver Sword, and the Gades Blade. It's a lot of 3x damage.
If you get a Gorgon Rock per any chance,
I also do have a
it
Fatal
would
Blow.
deal around 2k damage on the jelly. Traviktox is struggling with snow white dragon and a happy squid, and you see them all three dancing around each other. It's quite amazing, actually.
You may think the little squids kind of look like the Hydoras, only they're not quite as big, so how can they possibly be as scary? You're absolutely wrong. The squids are evil. Are they Orkies at this point, I believe? Orkies, which are some of the most terrifying enemies in the game that get 8 attacks for your 1.
Yeah, as Reflect said, both enemies were just like a kind of bulletin game. If you encounter one of them, you could have turned dead.
Ooh,
Just
deadly
because
rod.
you want. Do you have a curse lifter?
I do have a Curse Lifter. And a Super Sword.
This man has everything.
Except fractionals. Reliable. Wonderful.
So you could grind for at 1 silver sword on leeches. You have that. And silver and actually a super sword and a silver sword.
I'm feeling a bit more comfortable now. Mike, Traviktox, how are you guys feeling about your runs right now?
I'm feeling pretty good. I almost died to some eyes a minute ago, but the map doing good.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good too. I got enough levels already.
Has somebody of you already a kill?
2 note cores back to back.
Basically, my 2 deaths were the sacrifice for your success and good RNG.
Copy, you took one for the team.
Yeah.
The people's hero. So if you're curious about running the cave yourself, we do have a user in the chat named Creekspire. He built the what you could effectively refer to as the guide, which contains all the information you'd ever want to know. The community itself, we are always welcome to having new people join us, and if you'd like to join, is it fine if we plug our community server or Discord in here, George and Rogue team? Well, I'm not hearing it no. Although I don't know if links are possible to be posted in the chat as of right now. Whoops. Maybe not yet.
One interesting thing about my run so far is I don't have a deadly equipped on floor 70.
But you've got deadlies, which is good.
Yeah, I have level 3 Darby and 2 destroys, but my deadly's only for Maxim, who you don't want to equip a deadly on without a curse lifter.
Or just make it a deadly with one. People.
I believe the other guys are a bit further ahead than I am. I just hit floor 61. Floor 60 is where some really scary enemies appear. There are enemies that will charge you from off of the screen, called Worm Eyes. They'll charge you horizontally and move, 2 or 3 tiles horizontally for your 1. So you have to be rather careful when dealing with them. Coincidentally, as earlier mentioned, the 60s are also where the entire roster of goods that can be acquired via chests become available. This includes the Mythblade, which is the most powerful sword in the game next to the red chest sword, next to the sky sword, which is tied with, and also it has a fractional ability that deals 1/4 damage, or 1/4 HP's worth of damage on the opponent in our game. I just found one actually. Holy mackerel! Mythblades are the second most coveted weapon. They can be used by Decker, Guy, and also the main protagonist, Maxim. So there is quite a bit of value in them, just because of how effective they are at dealing damage. A combination of a Decker Blade and a Myth Blade is a ridiculous amount of damage. A Myth Blade and a Gades Blade for myself is going to be a ton of damage, so that right there is making me feel a lot more comfortable. You can also get the, in the 50s, the old sword, which deals 1/6 worth of HP's damage to the jelly, and the Lizard Blow, which is the one I found earlier. That's the most powerful 3x weapon that anyone can equip. The spells, of course, are available regardless of where you are, so you never really feel like you're in too much of a pinch.
And we see Traviktox beating this ghost ship with 2 Nosferatu in it. Basically, what you see there is that Traviktox used a spell called Vela, which is a healing spell on undead enemies, which causes them basically to explode. I like this one basically very much. Man's turn, he healed them to death.
I think I'm kind of scrambling looking for chests, and the other guys are probably too, to some degree. There's always an extra cushion of things that we can find. Better, more cost-efficient healing spells, more miracles for additional revival. Perhaps better equipment, because there are stats that can, or there are equipments that can boost attack power that are not just relegated to your weapon, like certain helmets or certain armors can boost your defensive parameters. We always want to have as much of a cushion going forward. We also want to make sure that our IP is full, so that way, when we actually get to the jelly, whether or not our IP is actually full may not be relevant, but you want to make sure you have enough IP to use your attacks. So you do need to make sure to have the means to deal with the enemies that can give you the IP. For people like me who are bringing Tia, oh my god, effectively.
Did you say you found a Decker Blade?
Yes.
Good job.
At this point now, I've swapped to Zeppi. Actually, I probably don't need to swap to Zeppi. I think this is just a waste of time. But it may not be. What Zeppi does is he brings to the table a skill that does a lot of... it gives high boost in terms of your damage. He'll boost your attack power up by a good chunk.
Yes,
Darby,
it's called Energy Wave and gives 48% attack power boost to the whole party. If Zeppi feels generously enough to use it. This is something AC wanna really have to dread, the RNG of capsule monsters at the jelly. And Traviktox is now encountering 2 ice rocks. Not as dreadful as I thought it could be.
The neat thing about Zepti is that he only needs to be in his 3rd form to be the most valuable form, he could say. Darby, if you feed Darby up, really wants to be in his 4th form to deal the most amount of damage possible. His 3rd form has the useful instant kill potential, but of course that doesn't help very much against the jelly. He does have some decent attack power too, but he doesn't always use it, and if he uses an instant attack, it just doesn't do anything, unfortunately. I seem to have forgotten where my stairs are.
This happens to the best. To forget where the stairs actually are.
What you saw here is Energy Wave. What I'm hoping for, since I'm bringing a couple of people with triple attack power weaponry, is that I get an Energy Wave early on, which lets them do as much damage as really as possible, possibly stacking.
And there's Darby's Dark Flame, and it doesn't get it. There's another Dark Flame from another Darby at the same form, 2 Gorgons. And there are genies everywhere, genies and Gorgons everywhere.
Genies are the one enemy in the cave that really prey upon you wanting to have good elemental weapon control, because there are 4 different elemental genies, and they are each weak to different elements. They're not necessarily weak to the elements that you would consider them to be weak to. For instance, the Earth Genie is weak to thunder. That makes the Boom Sword, the Sky Sword, more valuable. The Water Genie is weak to fire.
Fire Genie is weak to ice attacks.
Not water like you might think.
Yeah. What is the Green Genie weak against?
Wind Genie is weak to... Deadly Rods.
You're not wrong. They are also weak to deadly ones. That is correct. The Thunder Genies are weak to water, real critical and quick fire. And we sent him over for our CREF studies, and we take a test in the AC Discord. Elieson.
Yep, I just failed my test.
Yep.
There's a reason that Traviktox is fighting Gorgons here, I believe. Gorgons are not too difficult to deal with. They drop an item called a Gorgon Rock, which is very different from the Gorgan Rock, which you can find in treasure chests. The Gorgon Rock has an IP ability. It consumes a big chunk of IP, but it deals fractional base damage to enemies equal to 1/8 of the enemy's health, which is the same as the Deadly Rod. The Deadly Rod you can use up to 3 times in the battle. The Gorgon Rock you can use 1 time in the battle. The Gorgon Rock is an accessory though, which means you can still equip a hefty weapon or something that boosts your MP or something.
To answer your question, Reflect, Elieson and Traviktox are basically go mode.
I'll need to farm a bit of IP after a couple of mistakes.
And Traviktox is fighting the dreadful Arc Fiend Leech combination. Leeches are pretty tough opponents from the begin with their high defense, their high agility, their status elements, and Arc Fiends are famous for their double attacks, their double turn. They can use Thunder twice, and Loom Draw you, Insta kill you, and heal themselves. You want to see them heal themselves, actually. And pray that the deadly weapon connects. But he managed this fine, just fine.
I'm strategically refilling my IP. What are you talking about? I know exactly what I'm doing.
Really? Then you know what the blue genies are weak to.
There's a lot to remember, man. Which is why Creek Spire's Ancient Cave Guide, built and available on Google Sheets, is always a great idea to add to your repertoire of knowledge.
Also a great appetizer for your knowledge are the Monday Night Championships, regular held on Monday. German Standard Time at 19:00 to till to 10 p.m. They are doing crazy shenanigans with that bingo board, and sometimes they do crazy challenge races like this week's Pinata Challenge, where they enabled a code which allows them that every enemy will drop the items, but they were locked to only equipping items they find in enemies.
As a reminder, one thing you'll notice that pretty much everyone's doing here now is going in the cave, or I'm sorry, in the stairs from the bottom. This is important.
Yeah. It's important. Since the floors are randomly generated, it's quite possible that you start your next floor directly next to an enemy. And this brings you in a peculiar situation if you enter the stairs from up, since our enemies are facing downwards. If you enter a floor, it's quite possible that you actually get back attacked by entering the stairs from the upside down. And if you go from the bottom of from below the stairs, you can have at least, at best, head-on encounter, which is not the best, but the best you can do if you getting attacked right after you enter the stairs. I've seen once dying to this, and soft knocks, but
One other thing to be aware of is that large enemies can spawn on top of each other, so you could potentially have two enemies in combats from enemies that are located in the same position dealing with you. So there's a whole mess of issues that could go wrong. I think I'm gonna have a forced Archfiend fight.
Good luck. Archfiends are probably the most dangerous thing in the cave.
The most dangerous thing in the cave are double goat, right?
Oh boy. I completely mistimed my steps.
And here is the Aggro team versus Elieson. There's no way that something could go wrong right there.
Oh, embarrassing.
See, everything is fine. As long we don't see a Quadra Thunder, everything is fine. And behind the next door is another item.
This time I got lucky. Ice Rogs and Archfiends share the same map sprite, which is really a jerk move by the game. Ice Rogs are much more tolerable because they don't go twice, they don't cast magic, that just outright slaughters you. They have a powerful spell, but it's not gonna instantly kill you.
Got a Gorgon Rock.
GG. And yeah.
Ooh, and the stairs aren't up here.
Yeah. Also, they drop the most amount of gold, or they drop an really high amount of gold in the cave. If you wonder what you can do with gold in the cave, it's racing about how much money you can get before somebody else. And Elieson has a hard time here with all these Archfiends. I heard a rumor that there would be actually a merchant hidden in the cave. It's not true. At least we cannot prove the existence of the merchant. Are you sure you don't want to use the smoke ball?
Yeah, I'm gonna have Artie use the smoke ball. I was expecting Artie to be faster. Oh well. And that's game over for me, guys.
No!
The Arc Bros strike again.
I told you not to take Tia, man.
Unfortunately, at this point, I'm unable to really get too far into the cave now. With 30 minutes or 33 minutes, world records don't even pace that unless they're RNG minute and like heck if I'm RNG manipulating. So it looks
We
like
could
it's up.
we could run Providence percent.
Who just game over?
I did Elieson.
Elieson game over. Alright. Okay. I will be swapping to the race to layout then.
What was that one more time?
Now I got a problem.
We could also.
I'll swap to the race to layout then, so the stream looks better.
Okay, that's fair.
And I am probably dead.
Wait, Elieson, I still see you playing.
Oh, I just ran back in for a moment.
Oh, I see. Alright. Just confirm.
Oh, and it looks like Traviktox is bitten the dust as well.
Yeah, as you see, every form of safety in this cave is an illusion.
Tell me the fate of the cave does not rely on me.
The fate of the cave relies on you, sir.
We are in dire straits then.
Did everyone just bite the dust?
No. Mike is still alive.
So Mike's
Archfiends,
still alive.
Archfiends destroyed myself and Traviktox back to back. Mike has a good setup, so it's very likely he can still take care of the jelly and secure a kill. As long as he can get past the genies.
We cannot let the cave win. We cannot let the cave win.
He wants to get to floor 83. Once he gets to 83, that's when the genies prepare to... See, the 83 or 84 is when the genies stop appearing. When the genies stop appearing, you're dealing with dragons and dark summoners. Dark summoners are little green wizard teleporter guys, and they're sometimes a little difficult to prepare for, but you can back attack them. They only teleport when you're near them. They're not the most terrifying thing that you can ever run into, just because you can get around them. And dragons you can also get back attacks on, and there's only 2 of them in a fight at a time. If you want to switch to single player run screen, lead up Mike, that would be...
I won't be running.
Alright.
I was worried about that. Lucky me.
Lucky you.
At least genies are not the most terrifying thing to deal with. All you have to do is land your double destroys.
Oh, darn. I gambled and lost.
Wait, so everyone's dead?
No, I'm alive, but I lost my IP that I did.
Scared?
Yeah, one flame genie should not be able to take out
Oh, he can.
Immediately.
He can. Indeed.
Unfortunately, my loss, I blame it on the 80%. Always turns into the 0% rule. I had a deadly rod, and when I tried punching an archfiend, it didn't work. if I'd had that done, then I would have had one less archfiend to deal with, and I could have figured something out. It still would have been likely that I would have died, but I would have at least had a better chance of survival. Traviktox, did you just get slaughtered by thunders?
Yeah. The archers cast 2 times thunder and I think
1 gloom.
So the good news is if I live and have IP, we should have a kill. But I'm only on 81. Ooh. So we got to go through that room.
I just need Mike's PB at this point. For the layout.
1 minute, or I'm sorry, 1 hour, 3 minutes?
1 hour, 3 minutes?
Give me a moment, I'll pull it up here. Mike, 1 hour, 3 minutes, 58 seconds.
You're not on PB pace.
And we are on single layout.
Oh, Archfiend, darn it. That's unfortunate.
Mike, can you do me a favor and not die? Thank you.
It's gonna depend on this terrible. Does it hit? It does not. Okay, we got problems. Good, he attacked. Good. We need a terror ball to hit. Destroy.
Terror balls are
Yes.
unfortunately not the same as Destroy or Perish or Deadlies. Well, they're the same as Destroy, so a single 50% chance to kill something. The perk is that Artie and Decker can use them. Artie can't cast instant death magic, so it's a little perk that he's got, just in terms of being fast. But if you got a Deadly Rod too, then you'll prefer to use that if you can. It's a hit or miss situation. Depends on what you have, of course. The game always throws random things at you, in case you couldn't tell by our many runs.
Oh. So our other issues, we're low on MP right now.
There goes Maxim's HP.
Did you just let the water genie walk into you?
Mike, don't do stuff like this.
We got one miracle left.
If you have an old armor IP, you may want to stick it on Decker and use it.
Oh, I got not old armor, but oh, sorry. I have an iron plate.
Rayla.
Okay, I need to engage the guy below me without engaging everyone else. There
I
we
think
go.
one more swipe will do it, because the two genies ran into you, and then the next action will roll an action against the one below, but you're going to fight those well genies again as soon as you make your next move.
It's okay as long as I have a path.
This is a pretty hard room to do.
Just don't take Artie's IP we should be okay. I mean, it's MP. And don't wipe us, of course.
To answer R30, nope, they don't. Killed enemies stay out. The map sprites, as you saw for the genie, or I'm sorry, the Archfiend, it was simply a Hades charity. He stays gone, but they just adopt the main map sprite. Additionally, debuffs and statuses like poison.
Oh man, do we go down or do we go left? Probably down, huh?
Might want to go down.
Down sounds good.
Oh,
Oh,
we should be able to score a 50-50 on the next genie.
oh.
Go left and then face up or something.
Oh no, the dragon moved right. I'm just gonna have to wipe. Jeez. There goes Artie's MP2.
Yikes.
We're gonna have to YOLO this, guys. No. Well.
This is something.
This is unfortunate.
Silver dragons are quite scary. They each get 2 turns, and if they use a move called Diamond Dust, it will probably...
Now we...
Well, here we go.
Oh, Frost. I think this is it, guys. Double Frost. The cave wins today, my friends.
Yeah, the cave wins.
Folks,
The cave always wins, but today it has definitely.
Folks, now you've seen how hostile of a game this is, and this is us running in what we consider to be relatively, or at least slightly more marathon. The cave can giveth as the cave can taketh away, and as you saw, we all managed to get the stuff we needed, but couldn't make it to the final destination. We run into equal parts of that, where you can't get the stuff you need, but you can make it to the bottom floor in record-breaking time. You just can't kill the jelly, so there's a mixed mosh of things that can happen. But you stayed with us through 4 runs, and... well, this is a fun game. We promise.
Hmm.
It happens.
At least we fixed this. We kid the schedule somewhat.
The entertainment
Yeah.
value lies in watching everyone get utterly destroyed by 100 floors of torment.
This is at least it's not as a disaster at this one fatal blowout one. Because it was where everybody just died to ninjas, knife throwers.
That's rough. Well, so, and with that said, I guess we'll call this a close. 20 minutes early. We apologize for not completing the cave, but thank you for coming with us and watching us struggle through. Again, if anybody wants to be involved in the Ancient Cave community, we're always happy to have people come and join us. There's a lot of fun that can be had. For every time that something goes wrong, and there are a lot of wrongs, there are rights too. And I just posted up the Ancient Cave Community Discord. Feel free to join. And if you don't mind emulating or running your own copy of the Super Nintendo game, we'll be happy to give you tips. We run races weekly, as Hoppy mentioned. We have 2 annual events that we run. I host one of them. Another runner who's not running with us today hosts another. We try to make it fun for the community, and we're always willing to help out. And we are discovering, still to this day, a couple of new interesting things about the cave, be it functionality of Capsule Monster AI or other stuff. So we can't necessarily say that this game is fully broken apart yet. And if you want to join, you can help. Thank you, Rogue-a-rama, for having us.
Oh, thanks for running. And I just want to say for the people, you know, like this marathon is about these kinds of games. Like you're gonna see a lot of just this happening, and it's just the nature of the marathon. It's just high RNG games means you're gonna have a lot of dropouts. You're gonna have a lot of just run ending things, and that's the fun of this marathon. You don't know if the run's gonna finish, but you did your best, and thanks for running.
And we went into the worst kinds of enemies. Double Archfiends is something everyone dreads to one end. It's just like, yeah. And the Double Silver. Mike, you have my condolence. This was one of the worst treasure rooms I ever seen in my entire life.
Well, with that, folks, I'm basing out of here. I appreciate everyone giving us a watch. I hope you guys enjoy the remainder of the party, and that you meet your next stretch goal if you improve one. Congratulations! I'm glad we were able to help you meet your first stretch goal. It's pretty exciting to be running for that.